Okay folks, welcome back to the channel. Today we're out in the woodlot and it's a lovely +6 or whatever, which is always nice. And today I'll briefly describe what I've been doing here and then we'll talk a bit more. So this is yellow birch. I blocked it up from just over this way. About half or more of that pile is what I actually carried out. Behind Debbie there's a pile of red maple that was already out and I split it. I got a small start on this yellow birch, but after a couple hours of working here I'm looking at the rest of this yellow birch and thinking, I think I want to be a little fresher before I tackle much more of this.
So it'll wait for another day.
Probably hard. And behind me there's a pile of yellow birch that I split also. But today, in order to take a bit of a rest, I think we should talk about, what we're doing here and why, because that's ultimately, if you're a woodlot owner, what you most have to understand, I think. So this is probably best called crop tree selection. And what that means is you look at your woodlot, you understand what trees you have, and for the long term, which trees do you want to promote species-wise, and then make decisions about how you're going to go about that.
So once you choose the species, then you're choosing the individual trees.
Yeah, well, I mean, it becomes a little more, I shouldn't say complex, but so, for instance, let's talk about this yellow birch right here. Okay, so I've cut other trees around here. There's a red maple just here that has been cut. This yellow birch has been selected to remain. Why? He's got rot down in the trunk. He's got a broken off major branch just up above me here. His main purpose is, first of all, a seed tree. Yellow birch is fairly decent, a lovely tree. Hopefully will do not bad during climate change. And of course, he's also a future cavity tree. And frankly, I don't think I'd want to get into this old trunk and start trying to split it. So there's many reasons why you pick a crop tree. One of the first things I would say is anything that you have very few of on your property, that's a crop tree. Whatever it is, because you want diversity. If on 156 acres here we only had 6 fir trees, I would value them. When we have 60 million of the little sons of guns, no, I don't.
Not so much.
So a crop tree is simply a tree that you believe you want to keep for at least another 20 years on your property because it has some kind of value to you, and it certainly doesn't have to be commercial. Most of what I'm going to show you today, these are really not commercial for the most part. This red maple right here, again, he's a crop tree primarily because of his seed. Red maples are very good. In fact, most of the studies have identified red maple as the #1 climate change tree that will adapt and do very well.
For our area.
Right. Now, if I was looking at these as future commercial crop trees, my criteria would differ in that what you would primarily look at is to see if you have at least 16 feet of clear wood, because that's going to be, that first 16-foot log is your most valuable. And I would say that crotch up there is less than 16 feet. So as a commercial tree, this fella is probably only slated for firewood. He's not going to make a saw log. And saw log and veneer logs are your most valuable products that you have. Pulpwood is very poor paying. Firewood, if you're cutting it, harvesting, delivering it, and selling it yourself, you could certainly make some bucks at it. But we're talking primarily, more commercial sawmill kind of stuff than this. So the basis of selecting a crop tree is entirely up to you. You use whatever rationale you may want to apply. Strange, interesting trees with big crooks in them, and I think in our trees in the Woodlot video way back, we identified a number of these. They're all keeper trees to me. They're interesting. They have a certain charm.
I think you called them character trees.
Yes, character trees, that was the word. So here we have yellow birch, probably about 10 inches in diameter. He's clear for probably over 20 feet. Hard to tell exactly how old he is, but I would be fairly certain he's probably considerably under 100 years old, which means that this tree can grow for another 150, 200 years. So he may at some point be considerably larger. One of the things to remember is a 20-inch tree in that first 16-foot log. A 20-inch tree will have 4 times the volume of wood as a 10-inch tree. Pi yard squared.
Pi day just went by. Too late.
And then of course the tree could be another 60 foot taller, and you might get extra logs out of it, and so on. So it can be even up to 9 times the volume of wood in a tree that is doubled over its original size. So you can create a lot of value. So we're not going to do anything with this tree. I mean, for us, this is just a stay here, put down seeds, and maybe when he's in his last stages, he might get taken for firewood. But really...
You're going to be around another 100 years to do that?
Oh, sure. The likelihood of there being commercial harvest of that sort here is not highly likely. But we'll show you just one more tree, a red maple. All right, so here we're at a red maple. He's looking like he's got the basic characteristics. Again, he's over 20 feet to the first branch, so clear 16-foot log, no problem. Down in the butt here, though, I would say he likely got nicked by the harvester saw when this tree was getting cut. Something is wrong down there.
So he's had an injury.
Yeah. The other thing is his crown is relatively small. He's certainly well below even a 30% crown. Many suggest 40%. So for us, again, he's a keeper. There's nothing else around. He's not competing with anything. He's a seed source. We'll keep him. And, you know, he's certainly not going to be on the chopping block anytime in the near future. But
So he's a red maple surrounded by yellow birch, so it gives a little diversity.
yeah, the basic principles in thinning is you want to try and free up the tree. Jamie Simpson says a minimum of 2 sides from competition. Provincial silviculture requirements, if you are going to get funding, is you need to free up 3 sides of the tree. But you also have to look at the crown, because to bother thinning, you want that tree to have at least another 20 years of growth in them. You know, if you're thinning them now and then coming back and harvesting them in 2 years' time, he's never grown any significant amount in that 2 years. You might as well cut them down today. So the idea of thinning and freeing up crop trees is that they're going to be there for probably at least 20 years and maybe a lot longer. But you want to get your money back from the investment of that time. And the only way you get your money back is for that tree to keep growing for a significant period of time. Anyhow, thanks for watching, folks, and we'll catch you on the next one. Please share and like and all that good stuff, and be safe out there.
See you next time, guys.